Because you're saying a lot of stuff, Jason. Let me ask you, since we have been mired in 1.5% to 2% growth now for about a decade, what is your proposal to getting growth moving again? What's the answer, if not this?
My proposal would be revenue-neutral tax reform on the business side that lowers the rate but doesn't add to the deficit. I would expand our trade agreements rather than threatening to pull out of NAFTA. I would expand immigration rather than pulling back on immigration. Those are some of the biggest things we could do for growth.
How does expanding immigration create growth?
Two ways. One, you get more workers in our country. Two, you get more entrepreneurs, job creators, innovators. A disproportionate amount of the innovation in our economy.
But they're taking other people's jobs, right? I mean, you can't just, there's only a certain amount of jobs. If you've got expanding immigration, you're taking other people's jobs.
There's no evidence of that at all. I mean, you look, I think it's like a quarter of the Fortune 500 companies in our economy were created by immigrants or the children of immigrants. Our economy would be, we have Google because we have immigrants. Without them, we wouldn't.
Is that what you did under the Obama administration? Is that what you did under the Obama administration?
Wait, did we do what? No, we certainly.
What you're proposing? Did you make these changes during the Obama administration? Did you make these changes during the Obama administration? Because I'm just trying to understand why we had such weak growth for the last 10 years. He's talking about 3%, 4%, 5% growth. When you look back at the last time taxes were cut in the Reagan era in 1984, you had growth of 7.3% GDP. We haven't seen that.
I mean, you're throwing out a whole bunch of things on immigration.
No, I'm not, actually.
It's a real regret of mine that the Senate passed comprehensive immigration on a bipartisan basis. It was very strongly supported by the business community. Unfortunately, the House never passed it. And we have a real demographic problem going forward. Our workforce is aging. People are retiring. Right. And we need to make up for that with more productivity. But we also need to make up for that. If we didn't have immigrants, by the way, our workforce would be falling over the next decade.
What we really want to talk about is we're talking about tax reform. Go ahead, Dagan.
Jason, I want to push you on something, though. You're saying if this tax reform proposal on the individual side and on the corporate side, if it's revenue neutral, you will have a pile-on of Democrats getting on board with this. You're going to work the phones to make that happen? Because I push back. I don't think that there's any Democrat who's going to get on board with anything that President Trump puts his name on.
If you make it revenue neutral and distribution neutral, which again is consistent with what the administration has said its goals are. So I'm not saying anything for them other than what they've said. Absolutely, I'd be working the phones. I've written op-eds calling for and proposing tax reform, and you'd get a lot of Democrats interested. But instead, the president's talking about a big tax cut. He's talking about things like the estate tax. There's no economic growth you're going to get from repealing the estate tax. That's just a matter of, what you think the distribution of income in this country should be.
It's a double taxation.
I mean,
quite frankly, that's why people are opposed to it, because you've already paid tax on that money.
Your entire life.
Right. And people, I
You
agree.
can make a fairness argument.
I
can make a fairness argument on the other side of it. But no one's making an argument that there's a whole lot of economic growth associated with repealing the estate tax. The president just thinks it's unfair to people like himself. He's entitled to that view. But that has nothing to do with economic growth, and that's not something you're going to get Democrats to go along with.
And I don't think that they will. I don't think that they will go with it. I think that will be something the Republicans say. You're right. We'll let that go because of the revenue.
You don't think they'll get that done? Well, there's the state and local income tax debate going on right now. But Jason, in order to get to revenue neutral, what are you saying? Are you saying you have to cut back on spending significantly? I mean, you are saying that corporate rates have to come down, but you want this to be revenue neutral. How do you get there? Raising taxes? Raising taxes on a portion of the people? How you could throw out revenue neutral, but you're not giving us a path to get there.
Yeah, I mean, if you give me enough time, I'll give you a path. You want to broaden the tax base. You want to do things like on international taxation, make sure that our companies are paying something on their overseas operations, and you're really collecting that while making it free for them to repatriate their money. You want to close a bunch of loopholes. And you don't want to create a new set of loopholes. This has, for example, a new 25% rate for certain types of businesses. Everyone's going to be clamoring to become that type of business. This whole new loopholes open and complications opened up by this plan, which is why even conservative tax analysts have condemned that.
They're doing
part of the
away
plan.
with the loopholes. They said that they only want to keep three deductions in there: mortgage, charity, and retirement.
And they'll put up. There's a
what loopholes are you referring to? I don't.
But there's this whole
Jason's
new rate
about,
that's 25% for any business that calls itself a pass-through.
We got to put up guardrails
And
to
you know
protect
what?
people from
I
abusing
could call
it.
myself a pass-through. I could hire myself out as a new corporation, and instead of paying the top rate, I'd pay 25%.
Well, obviously, there's
That's
going to
a
be
brand
rules
new
in place.
complication.
There's going to be rules in place to make sure that doesn't happen. But Jason, thank you very much. Jason Furman is joining us this morning. And we'll